All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report Town Hall session. This is the curtain raiser to the State of the Nation address expected from the President Uhuru Kenyatta tomorrow, and possibly his last if he doesn't give another one next year. And my guest in studio, Honorable Beatrice Elachi, is already here. CAS, Public Service and Gender Affairs, thank you for making time. Haman Manyora is also here, commentator, political commentator. And Joshua Kipto is joining us from Eldoret. Is the Speaker, Nandi County Assembly. We'd like to hear from you. What do you think is the Jubilee legacy? At Trevor Mbija, at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. Let me jog your memory really quick. Last year when the President spoke, it was during the COVID-19 times. That's when VAT was reduced from 16 to 14%. Those who are earning 24,000 and below were exempted from Pay-As-You-Earn. Pay-As-You-Earn itself was reduced from 30 to 25%. Also, there was a directive to all ministries and counties to pay up to 13 billion shillings of verified pending bills. That has not happened 1 year down the line. But let's get into that conversation. And I'll start with your views here. I see from Peter Deuri. Says the only way I remember Jubilee administration is corruption and wrangles mixed up with politics throughout instead of delivering on promise, which is a good example, is a Big Four agenda. Kiprono Jeremy, who's watching from Olengruon in Nakuru County, says Jubilee government failed to implement what they promised Kenyans, like the Agenda 4, due to handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. And Abraham Okoth says, Trevor, the legacy left by Jubilee government is corruption. Most of state departments are corrupt and so bad, the ones who are appointed to help Kenyans still ask for kitu kidogo. All right? But there's one here, Bruno Otiato, who says in the next 5 years or so, many Kenyans will be amazed by the infrastructure projects commissioned by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The tragedy of today is the desire for short-term gains over long-term vision. President Uhuru plays the long ball. Let me start with Honorable Elachi. What do you think the President should address tomorrow before we get into his legacy?
Well, I think the most important thing is the stability of Kenya with the neighbors, and especially this matter of Somalia.
Yeah.
It's very critical, and as we go to an election, I think we need to ask ourselves, how do we ensure we can really go back to where we were with Somalia, knowing very well they are on the northern frontier, knowing very well we have our brothers and sisters on that side, and so that we don't have also interference from that side as we go to the election. But also, he has to speak on how, within his time, we will ensure we have a peaceful election, an election where both men and women will be able to compete without intimidation, without violence. And lastly, as much as we have all this, we have to speak about young people even before the election. How do we ensure we can at least see ourselves giving them one of the things that we promised that can just come in? It will be never, better late than never. But give young people something that they can feel. Indeed, we promised to them the jobs, we promised to them we will see them get incentives. We even promised them into the BBI that we'll be able to help them to have incentives to reduce tax or zero tax on many of the projects that they are doing, their programs. Can we do it for them? Because when you look at our young people now, it's like they're feeling we've been left. We are used. Then the next team comes in, tells us again some promises, which I think it's not fair. We had very good promises as Jubilee from 2013 to 20, and thanks to God, we moved on to another 5 years. We need to give them those promises.
Prof, isn't it rather perplexing when we talk about promises to the young people, the same people we promised 2 million jobs, now we're promising them 4 million, and yet the 2 million wasn't delivered?
Trevor, if you ask me, the state of the nation is shaky. The state of the nation is shaky because if there's one thing this country needs badly, it is hope. And the president can do anything he wants to do. He can say anything and everything he wants to say. People can talk of 4 million jobs when they didn't give 1 million, when they didn't give in the 500 of Kibaki. But unless they deliver hope to Kenyans, this country can crash. Because when a country is in this state of hopelessness, when there is everything is despair, many bad things can happen. When you are going into an election and a country has this level of despair, a demagogue can easily ride on the desperation of Kenyans and run away with the country. For Kenyans to regret in future. So what the president needs to do, whatever he touches from now onwards, it must be to deliver hope to Kenyans. Even those young people we are talking about, let's not talk statistics. Let's not talk about 1 million jobs, 4 million. When none is available, it can be felt. Don't come up with statistics and figures about the performance of the economy. It is to be felt in the pocket. And yes, not all is lost. You can see that quote from Bruno. There's so much that's going on, yet the president doesn't seem to understand what Kenyans need is hope. You begin by making Kenyans, like Bruno is saying, to see what it is you are doing. You know, Kenyans are being made to believe like everything is lost, all is lost, which is not true. You get what I'm saying? So the president must embark on hope building and nothing else. Everything you do, from whatever corner, from whatever perspective, whether it is education, whether it is health, whether it is young people, everything you do, whether it is politics, even as you move towards 2022, inbuilt in everything the president and the government does must be hope.
But how do you restore hope in a nation that is full of despair?
That's the task. That's why luck is paid. That's why they are paid. And if those who are paid can't do it, we should be invited to help them do it. They must look for people. Let me tell you, Trevor, this country, more than ever before, requires very serious thinking. If we allow people to move around the way they are moving and throwing words and slogans and lie to Kenyans, you know this country will collapse sooner than you can even imagine. So building hope means, first of all, being true to your office. Telling Kenyans the truth. Sharing with them the challenges they are. You know, not many people know the suffering we are going through. I'm telling you, even educated people, not many people seem to understand some of the problems and challenges we are facing are global in nature. See, but government can't even communicate something like that. You see, government can't even communicate something like vaccination. You want to force people. So look at the voter registration. They didn't even meet 30% of the target. Why? Poor communication. So government must engage its citizens a little more seriously than they are doing. And in the process, you'll be able to give people hope that not all is lost.
Elachi, what do you remember the president's administration for, the Jubilee administration? You've been in on it. You know the nitty-gritties. What do you think is the legacy?
First of all, we must agree that indeed the president has worked. That one he has. Full of the politics, surrounded with so many things. Then you come and you're hit with COVID. He has worked. There, as Bruno says, infrastructure, yes. But even in agriculture, yes. Yes, there are some challenges. Yes, some of the achievements have not been met. But in some areas, they have been met. The question now should be that as we move, I know one of the things that the president has been very clear from 2013. You look at every message of the president, he would always, one thing, request Kenyans, kindly, let us have unity, let us have a peaceful country where our prosperities, our sustainability, development can work within that environment. That one, he has carried that agenda at his heart. He has carried the agenda of development. Carried, yes, but caught up. And as my professor say, I agree, yes, those who we are paid, to support the president, to do what we are supposed to do. Indeed, I'll tell you here, many of us have let him down. We have, because we cannot say the president will have to do this. You've realized the president has had to intervene in situations where you feel very disappointed, because you come into a parastatal, it is gone, it is now the president to come and start thinking, how do we revamp? Yet there were officers, I mean, they were being paid. You've been given an opportunity, a privilege to run the institution. You run it down.
What is the problem? Were they not competent enough?
Well, competent, I would say. Corruption, I don't want to run away of it. It has hurt our government. Corruption in it, and people just feeling it is my time. When I'm here, I have to just get what I need to get quickly without thinking. You know, what amazes me is, as much as we said we will stay for 10 and another 10, but nobody believed in that. So we just ate the country as if tomorrow will not come, until the president comes in again and realizes, I have to stop this. So everything has stopped with him, and the president now has. When you look at now the 5 years where everyone complains, oh, we didn't do development because handshake came in, but then you're not asking yourself, to do that development, there was a manifesto from 2013. Really, anyone who was given an opportunity by Jubilee government should be asking themselves, when I was made a CS, when I was made a PS, when I was made a director, when I was the evaluating officer, when I was a human resource person, what have I done to make the legacy of my president be a better legacy? Or have I come into an institution where Kibaki left me and we entered, and instead we decided to chop it? We decided to bring down every institution that was supposed to give a Kenyan a chance. Where we are talking of all those jobs, when you look at the institutions we were supposed to give them those jobs, are the same institutions where some Kenyan just decided, this one, I am running it like my corporate, and it has to go down. But then the buck stops with my president. And so everyone...
Takes the blame.
Yes, he takes the blame. And what he's been trying to do is now reviving. In fact, anyone who is talking about, I am going to give 4 million, you need to be talking about, how am I reviving Kenya Power, which the president has started reviving, and how does it move now to give Kenyan services, but services that is affordable? How am I reviving the other industries that have gone down, that I know we need, so that you can get that employment? But if you don't have a plan of how you're reviving, you're just thinking of how I'll come in and continue where my president has left. So you want to continue with entrepreneur and entrepreneur and all that. It won't work for this country. We want a country first that we all leaders accept this country. We've left it in a state. COVID has come, hit us more hard. How do you pick Kenyans together for them to ensure they can walk a journey with you, a journey that can bring back Kenya?
Let me bring in Joshua Kipto on this. Joshua, has the president been failed by his own people?
Thank you very much, Trevor. One thing I would want to make clear is that I want to respectfully disagree with my two co-panelists. They have painted a very rosy picture and a nice scenario that what would think Jubilee has been a success. To be very fair, and I speak as a young person and having served as a speaker for 4 years, honestly speaking, it has been a disaster. The president cannot blame any single person. The buck stops with the presidency. And I have reasons to say this. What would be the legacy as we go towards the last State of the Nation address? Number one, it will be remembered that it is this regime that the rule of law has been thrown out of the window. It is this regime where the respect for the Constitution has not been given any credence. Explain to me, Trevor, how comes this is a country, or this is the regime whereby most of their actions have been rendered null and void by the courts? In fact, a joke went round that at the end of the term of the president, everything will be declared null and void, simply because zero respect to the rule of law. And how did we get to this space where we don't respect the rule of law? And the moment a country does not have the rule of law, that is the foundation of a country. That is what gives us the peace. That's what gives us the identity as a democratic republic. Now, one of the second things that justifies my harsh verdict on breakdown of rule of law is the issue of breakdown of institution. I think the presidency has been very powerful and overreaching. We have a legislature that has been emasculated. The Senate and the National Assembly are basically lapdogs. There is nothing much you can speak about on matters oversight on national matters. That is the first term and the second term of Jubilee, whereby we have the National Assembly and the Senate being the chorus singers. The only beautiful thing we'll remember the legislature for, they are very excited always taking laws to be signed by the president, which has been dictated to the letter by the presidency. Number three, one of the biggest problem, and the legacy will be remembered for these 10 years of Jubilee, is the issue of unsustained debt. We have accumulated, amassed debt that will take several generations to be able to finish. I don't know why we are sweeping this under the carpet. This is what ails us. Our economy is in doldrums because of the nature of debt we are facing. Number two, one of the major talking points of Jubilee has been about infrastructure. And that's has been one of a big lie they're giving to the Republic. 10,000 kilometers, give me a break. Maybe 4,000. And at what cost have we done those massive infrastructure projects? At the cost of unsustained debt, whereby we have capital and cheap interest starved off the market, that SMEs and the small businesses and just the everyday local business cannot access interest or cheap interest. They cannot access capital. They cannot access money because the government is sweeping everything because of the unsustained debt. What happens to that? The economy takes a beating, and that's why we have despair. I agree with Prof. I agree with my senior Honorable Elachi, who I'm happy to have served with her together in County Assembly Forum when she was the speaker from Nairobi. And one thing I can agree with the two of them, the country is in despair. We are talking about a country that is bleeding. We are talking about a country that is looking for hope. It is not a surprise when you look at, for example, the hustler narrative taking a serious following. It's simply because people are looking for something to stick to. Anything that offers them solutions. For us at the county, now that I've been a speaker, the devolved units, I'll give Jubilee maybe 60%, because I will not be too harsh to them, because at least for the 7-8 years they have tried to ensure that money flows to the devolved system. However, the challenge remains, why did we have to close shop in Nairobi and have NMS? Importantly, we'll talk about, can we get more for the devolved system that can work? Lastly, I would want to appreciate maybe one or two things Jubilee has done. For example, last mile or connecting electricity and connecting more households to the grid is something you can talk about. Importantly, I think we can speak about the beauty about devolved system trying to go beyond 2013. If you look at the 8 years, the devolved system under the Jubilee regime have really tried to ensure services get to the people.
Prof, is the bottom-up approach, like Joshua is saying, is that the hope you're referring to for a nation?
First of all, Trevor, when a country is in the state our country is in, the last thing you want to do is to apportion blame. Let's stop blaming each other. Because it should be me who should be pointing at Joshua. Joshua is Jubilee. All the things they are talking about, they celebrated them until things went south for them. If it is borrowing, this borrowing was done in the first term, a lot of it. If it is corruption, a lot of it was in the first term, because they want to run away from the second term. So let us not apportion blame. Let's not even talk about the rule of law. Let's not talk about Uhuru and his government disobeying court orders and the like. This is not the time to apportion blame, because this is the time to pull together as a country. Because if the country goes down, all of us go down with it. I know there are a handful of people who have property in Australia, New Zealand, and they will go. Maybe Lucky is one of them. But for the majority of us, 99.99% of us have nowhere else to go. So let's stop blaming. In fact, even the judiciary itself, as you know, he's also a lawyer, he must also know they are not without blame. Look at what is happening with the Kenyatta saga. You know how many Kenyans are in the remand prison today? As some of these tough lawyers talk about court orders. Do you know how many people are in a remand home and they have been there for tens of years? Do you know how many people have land cases? Do you know how many people have cases that are 30, 40, 50 years old? People are in remand prison. And yet we have the time to play around with the Kinoti issue in court for lawyers to appear there in suits and speak English. Why can't the court just say, look here, the parties responsible for Jimmy Wanjigi, my friend's firearms, bring them tomorrow at 9 in this court. And the case is finished like that.
Yeah.
You see where I'm talking about, let's not blame each other. Because there's none without blame. You want to go into all these things in the court, people to speak English in suits. People are rotting in industrial area because there's no time for their cases to be heard. Yet a simple thing the court could just say, okay, there's no issue about these firearms, bring them here tomorrow at 9, and that case in Meisha. So what I'm saying is, when a country is where it is, two things. One, let's not apportion blame to anybody. Okay. And number two, let's be careful, and that's where I started. Because of the despair, because of desperation, demagogues can come with slogans and they will sell. When a country is where our country is, the surest thing that happens is they always get a bad leader who rides on the wave of desperation. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You saw how Trump easily resonated. I like Trump, so I'm not saying he's a bad leader, but most of you think he's bad. So let's stick with what you people think. You saw how easy it was for him to resonate with America. Because they're almost giving up with a swamp in Washington. You get what I'm saying? So let's fix our problems as people. Let's not apportion blame. And when you are a politician, you want to be president for this country, of this country next year, don't ride on the despair. Don't ride on the frustrations of people. And that is squarely where bottom up and the hustler thing comes in. It's not a really well thought out idea. You can say it can salvage this country. Because if you want to create jobs, you don't tell me you'll put 100 billion down there, Trevor. How much has Uhuru put down there? Much more than that. Doesn't create the jobs. Be bold enough to tell me I will ban second-hand clothes from coming this, and I will face Uncle Sam, Americans, the way Kagame did. We tried even to raise taxes to discourage Mutumba. Americans just pointed a finger at Kenya and we shrank. Kagame looked at them in the face and told them, go to hell. Let somebody tell me, if every Kenyan who has a shoe today, your shoe there and mine and us, if they were made by butter, there will be a job. And therefore, what I'm going to do when I become president, I'm going to ban importation of all these cheap things from China. You have that courage. Because remember when the president talked about fish, the Chinese rained on him. Didn't he retract? Quickly. So I want a leader who does not ride on the desperation of Kenyans are in. Rather who comes out with programs that can get Kenyans out of where they are.
Elachi, can we separate the wins and the losses of Jubilee and apportion it to the two individuals, or do they come as a package? President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto.
They come as a package, because it was a package. And anyway, just to tell my professor, I don't have houses in Australia or outside the country. And number two,
you better get one.
The issue of Mitumba, you have to get a solution for the thousands of people also who do in that business. Because they don't just do Mutumba alone. There's Mutumba, there's a person who irons, there's a security officer. There are many, it's a wave. It's a web that comes with so many people who have their livelihoods on it. But now, let's look at this package. You see, it's like, you know, it's only in Kenya where we do very interesting things. So we decide, if the president has gone wrong, all the blame will go to him. But we don't ask ourselves, today, we have a president and our deputy president. And indeed, even if there's a Kenyan who never voted for us, today we need to ask ourselves, does he have space even to meet my deputy if he's not in his party? Will he serve him? See, those are some of the things. So if you can't serve them now, you feel disappointed, they are not supporting maybe the ideology you believe in, how will you now convince me that you'll bring Kenya together, what the president was singing about, and ensure you can appreciate that not everyone will love you. And in leadership, that's how it is. But then then we go now to the projects. You were there when we were launching each project. In fact, you were part and parcel of launching those projects.
Yeah.
In some of them, they have never picked. You go, you'll find, yes, it was launched here, it's still on ground, the foundation has not started. Why won't you be blamed? You'll be blamed.
Okay.
It means, and as much as my speaker of Nandi says, which I agree with him, yes, we have a lot of debts. I mean, we have serious debt in our country. But then we must blame ourselves also. Number one, why were we launching just projects, left, right, and center? Yeah. You go to this place, you launch a road. You come out, you launch a dam. You move, you launch a university. You move. All these things we were doing. Why didn't we sit down and ask ourselves the way the government of Kibaki used to do? You launch a project, you do the project. When it is in its finality, you start a new project, big projects.
Okay.
And I think that's when the president came in and said, look, no more launching of projects.
Yeah.
Let us first finalize what we have as we move.
Okay.
And so you cannot now come and blame the president and say, oh, that was the work of the president. I am now coming to do a better job. There's no better job. Okay. Because even when we were doing transformers, we were together. When they busted and we have now put them somewhere, they are just lying down. Even we are not telling Kenyans how much we spend there. Yeah. We acquired. But who were doing the business? The same people.
All right.
When we decided the last mile, which is a good mile, but what did we do? We decided even the poles, we used to just remove, put a new pole, people would go. I mean, and you can't come here and say now it is the president alone.
Yeah.
No. That time we were doing business, we were good. Okay. The time the president comes and closes business, we become enemies.
Okay.
It's not fair to the president.
Let me take a quick break here on Monday Report. I see a lot of your feedback coming through. Kulo Conrad says construction of roads has emerged as a key of the legacy President Uhuru Kenyatta, plans to leave when his term ends in 2022. And we see also here, Jacob Abere Matlala says Jubilee has achieved more in infrastructure development and also as only ruling party in south of Sahara that was in government and opposition at the same time. All right. Munene Kiburi says the benefits of Huduma Center has not been mentioned and it is being overlooked. Paul says, if we remove the noise in the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta, then I can say he has achieved a lot in infrastructure development. He has failed terribly on matters corruption, national cohesion and unity, and disobedience of the rule of law. James Obonyo says, on a like scale of 1 to 10, Jubilee government has scored a 4. The deputy pulled the development to the south as the president tried to head north. A hopeless state of affairs indeed. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're still winding up on this conversation in terms of then what is the president's legacy and what does that mean? Should he endorse anyone, by the way, tomorrow? Because if he endorses, we heard him say, yangu kumi, yake kumi. If he does that, what does that mean for the future of the handshake as well? All right? That in just a bit. Let's take that quick break. We're back with more in just a short while.
Mada ndo alinifundisha shughuli, nilikuwa naenda naye soko nini. Hiyo ndo ilinspire kabisa. Naweza ingia sasa soko nikajichukulia mimi mali yangu nikakuja nayo na nikauza tufiti. Kando na hiyo mimi niko na family inanitegemea kabisa. Hiyo lazima nichangamke.
Big Ben Asapa anajituma vimeje. In other words, ana own his game. And the big question is, je wewe?
Come play the game of life. Chief, you just have to own it. Hunter's Choice. Own your game.
Kujua vile data yako imetumika. Bonyeza *544#, select 9 for balance and tips, kisha select 4 for data statement. Click the SMS link to access your data statement. Yes!
No worries, no leakages. concentrate the impossible. Everything is doable. Yeah, so fit, so right. So fit, so right. So fit, so right. Soft care, so fit, so right.
Soft Care Petal Care has a floating design that perfectly fits. It reduces 70% friction on skin, absorbs fully, and blocks leakages from both sides.
Soft care, yeah.
Enjoy the freshest, creamiest, and tastiest milk. Mount Kenya milk is Kenya's most amazing milk with its thick cream that makes a thick, rich cup of tea. From the cow to your cup, we maintain the uniqueness that makes us different. Get yourself Mount Kenya milk at any supermarket or duka near you. Mount Kenya milk, the cool mountain freshness.
Niaje? Ni kama unashangaa kwa nini naangalia simu with so much focus, eh? Usishangae sana. Ni vile nimekuwa ndani ya story kabisa.
Stay informed on all the news and events as they happen across the country, the continent, and the world at large. Download Citizen Digital, Kenya's #1 news app.
Citizen Digital.
Mada ndo alinifundisha shughuli, nilikuwa naenda naye soko nini. Hiyo ndo ilinspire kabisa. Naweza ingia sasa soko nikajichukulia mimi mali yangu nikakuja nayo na nikauza tufiti. Kando na hiyo mimi niko na family inanitegemea kabisa. Hiyo lazima nichangamke.
Big Ben Asapa anajituma vimeji. In other words, ana own his game. And the big question is, je wewe?
Come play the game of life. Chief, you just have to own it. Hunter's choice. Own your game.
All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report Town Hall session. We're getting to the tail end of it. And Kipto, let me bring you back on this. How do you split the two leaders, the president and the deputy?
Thank you very much. First, I wanted to respond to what the two commentators said. What I can agree, and if you look at their comments, we are basically talking the same thing. And I wanted to remind Herman Manyora that we were together in this when it came to 2017. I want to remind him whatever he used to talk about that, we were together and we kept agreeing that we are going on a bad trajectory. Now, on the second question you say about separation, a regime is mostly pegged on the person in charge. If you come to the County Assembly of Nandi, I take responsibility as the Speaker of the county. I will be able to tell you where are our successes, where are our failures. Even where a Speaker does not vote, a Speaker does not have a vote, but being a spokesperson and the head of that particular institution, you have to take responsibility for the actions even of your members whom you may not have a control over. So that when you talk about the Jubilee regime, you talk about it wholesomely from the first term and second time. I agree that it was a joint ticket between the president and the deputy president. But at the end of the day, even the president has been on record saying it, that this is my government. In the first term, possibly there was a lot of cooperation between the two. And if you look at the blames we are giving, we are not giving just one side. We are giving both sides. I'll remind the viewers that even when it came to the first term of the Jubilee, I was among the first people that kept saying we need to focus on service provision. We need to look at what needs to be done, because when you accumulate debt, when we use PR and we actually don't deliver to the people, it comes back to bite at us. And that is what has happened in the second term. It is unfortunate that the president and the deputy president fell out, and as a result, whatever, the ship sank further. That if we are to talk about the second time of Jubilee and give a rational opinion about it, you will see that on matters governance, we went south, because the handshake between the president and the Right Honorable Prime Minister ideally and officially killed opposition. So that meant there was nothing about respect for the constitutionalism. And that's why it was easy for them to completely ignore everything to do with the court orders. Number two, you have a case of whereby we have now heightened sense of political activity, whereby now each party would want to seek a space. So that has become a bigger problem. More importantly, you find a case whereby the deputy president ideally has literally been shut off government. And that one sets a very dangerous precedent, that any other government coming into play, what will prevent the next government from shutting off the vice president or the deputy president of the republic. So that one has to be clear. So when we are giving a legacy scorecard, we give it wholesomely. Jubilee regime with the president and the deputy president. And one thing I want to appreciate is that where there are factual realities, we always speak about them. Look at the deputy president agreeing in principle and saying it is time to look out and say what worked, what didn't work. For example, why would we have a bottom-up ideology selling at this point, and it's the deputy president pushing it? It's simply because he's acknowledging and saying we had put more emphasis on capital projects, we had put more emphasis on big infrastructure projects, but that came at the expense of the common man. That came at the expense of service delivery. That came at the expense of us providing cheap capital, providing policies and proposals that can be able to tackle the majority. So that one is from a point of realization, and that is leadership. So we first start by acknowledging where the problem is. And I would wish to remind the viewers, we just not blame. The first thing we do, let us draw the history, let us draw the parallels, and then come to the table and say, going forward, how do we sell the hope? You cannot sell the hope if you've not looked at the side mirror or the rear mirror and look at what went wrong. That is why even we'll speak about the Kibaki regime, we'll talk about the good economic benefits, but we'll remember that it was a regime that actually also did a lot of damage on matters national unity. We'll talk about the Kibaki regime not having serious impact on the common man, whereby inflation was high, but the economy went well. So that is a balanced view we try to give. Okay. And that's why when we talk about the state of the nation, as the president concludes his second term at the 10 years, we'll give a scorecard for the wholesome Jubilee regime led by the president and deputized by the deputy president. But we have to acknowledge where the problems have been. We have to say the buck stops with the president.
All right. Manyora, is that what you're reading from the deputy president's approach, that is admitting that the first term we did this wrong and now I can do it better? Because that's what Kipto is trying to make us believe here.
No, what the deputy president has been saying for all to hear is that they did a wonderful job for the first term. And immediately after the victory of the second term, and specifically after the handshake, the president departed from development and went into the handshake and BBI. That's what he's been saying. The other message he's been passing across from that is that actually he was driving the engine in the first term. And then the president must have told him, can you please vacate this seat and let Raila sit there, take charge of the cockpit. So really, that's what he's been telling us. Unless, you know, English is a difficult language. Maybe I've not been hearing properly. But I also hear him speak Swahili, which I think I also know a bit.
Yeah.
He's been saying exactly that wonderful job first term, come second term, the president abandons the big four, concentrates on the handshake and BBI.
Okay.
And that's, he says it every day. Okay. So, but I think really what we must admit is when there are squabbles in a home, certain things are delayed. You waste precious time on the squabbles.
Yeah.
So we must also admit that the differences between the president and his deputy has affected government to some level.
All right.
But again, we will be dishonest to ourselves and to others if we say that the disagreement has compromised service delivery, that it could have been much better. I don't think it could have been that much better.
All right.
Yeah, and the president himself has said as much. He has said he has achieved much more. Because again, we tend, I think, in the heat of politics and in our attempt to head to State House and support those who are going there, we seem to underrate the importance of peace. There are people who talk as if Raila and Uhuru didn't get together, they would have been happier. And they failed to recognize the danger we were moving into. We are already into that danger.
Okay.
So it's important that the president works with his deputy throughout.
All right.
But in order for this to happen, I think we must also tell viewers, henceforth, this myth must be debunked. When you're a deputy governor, you are just exactly that, a deputy governor. When you are deputy president, you are exactly that. Kenyans elect one president.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They elect one governor. And Kenyans must understand the meaning of a joint ticket is we have looked at you, Raila Odinga. We trust you. We believe you can deliver us. You can take this country where it wants to go. But supposing something happened to you, because you are just mortal like the rest of us. We don't want to go into an election like other countries. We have chosen that if the president can no longer perform his duties, there must be somebody standby. The standby person is not a partner.
Okay.
It's not a co-principal. This is where we are getting it wrong. And this friction will always continue so long as deputy governors think they are co-governors. They are not.
Okay.
It's like a spare wheel of a vehicle.
Okay.
You cannot use it when the others are there, the four are there. When you get a puncture, then you go and get a spare wheel.
Okay. Yeah. Honorable Lachi, and as we wind up on this, should the president endorse any leader, or should he just let Kenyans decide? Should he wake up and say, this is the person with the right vision, give him a chance? Whether it's his deputy or an opposition leader or anybody else from the One Kenya Alliance team or anybody else for that matter, should the president endorse any leader?
You see, there are many ways of endorsing a leader. And I think what the president will be looking at is who do I feel, not who do I feel, who can steer Kenya. It's not who you want, it's who can steer Kenya. Who can bring calmness, who can appreciate and move this country with all the challenges surrounding it to its next level. That one he has to. That's why he's the head of state. At the right time, he will look at the country because he will be responsible if he just leaves the country, yet he was handed over a country that was cohesive, a country that was moving together. He has to hand it over to where it has to move again together. But also having looked at all that, before even that, and we come to now our constitution, it is very clear, yes, it is one package. And as I said, if you go on to a joint ticket, the best we can do is to appreciate, I understand this constitution and I am able to work as the constitution stipulates. And the constitution is very clear. Who goes to the ticket? The president. That's why everything stops to him. That's why we are questioning. We are now not questioning any other person. Anything wrong, we are questioning the president. And so those who feel the president has done me wrong, this should know in the end of the day, with the constitution of 2010, the person we question when the country is now going the wrong direction is the president. And so he has a right to say when he says this has to go this side, based on the constitution and the laws that govern us in our country, and for purposes of prosperity and peace, let us have this together.
Kipto, should the president endorse any leader?
No, I don't expect the president to endorse any leader. I wish the president would follow the example of Mwai Kibaki when he was leaving the scene in 2012. He never bothered to endorse. He took his bow and look at the respect he has. The challenge of endorsing comes with a blowback. How about if your candidate loses? Alternatively, you will find the other side feeling that you may use your position. And that is why today we need to laud the IEBC for pulling out from the multi-sectoral, because it was wrong for them to appear in the same multi-sectoral agency together with the judiciary, together with the line departments like the Interior Ministry, and you expect them to operate independent of each other, interdependent to manage an election. So I honestly believe that for the president, secure your legacy by choosing to be neutral. Secure your legacy by ensuring a free, fair elections that is open and acceptable. The last 3 elections have been questionable on the basis of a feeling that the government interferes. And I think if there's one small thing that can remain, or a small window that remains for the president to guarantee the country away from all the shenanigans of a breakdown of the rule of law, it will be just delivering a credible election. Importantly, I wish also to mention something clear here. Let us also speak about the proposals for the future. And I'm happy that as we engage in the 2022 election, let us agree, and even the viewers would agree with us, that for the first time, every of the leading presidential candidate is talking about an agenda. Why are we not talking about the ethnicity of the individual presidential candidates? Why are we not talking about their solid ethnic ethnic basis. We are actually discussing the ideas. When you talk about the deputy president, you'll talk about the hustler and the bottom-up narrative. When you talk about Honorable Raila Odinga, he talks about Azimio la Umoja, that is unity, and that's why Elachi would speak about who can bring the people together. When you talk about Oka, each of them, most of them, they have been speaking about, they seem to lack one coherent message, but I'll pick the voices of maybe Mudavadi and Musyoka. In one or another, they keep talking about Uchumi. How can we improve the economy? So that is one beautiful thing we need to speak about as we go to the next election. How can we crown that with a good moment in 2022? It can only be in form of a free, credible elections, and that is why you remember last week there was a case for the CJ also to stand up. IBC has done its bit. Lastly, I also want to appreciate one thing about the country we live in. We are a democratic country, and the devolved system of governance has given the reason for the people to know what a government can do. So as we also blame and admonish the national government, the county governments, ourselves also, we also take a responsibility. Yeah. As we go to the 2022 election, we must also take the cue. Okay. At the national level, the conversation has changed. It's about issues. Okay. It's about hope. It's about how can we set the country to a different path, away from the problems we've been facing the last 9 years. Okay. For the counties, the same message should trickle in, so that at the county level, as we campaign for respective positions, as we vie for respective positions, like if I show up and I say, I, the Speaker, Joshua Kipto, wishes to be a governor of Nandi County, it should come with proposal, not just a position, and that is the thing. Okay. And I want to appreciate what each of the teams are doing at the national level. We will replicate it at the county level. Okay. It's about agenda, it's about issues, and the media can do a serious responsibility of providing platform and ensuring that all of us are held accountable to whatever agenda we are trying to bring to the table. And that is why we can sit here today and talk about Jubilee. We can analyze and talk about the president's legacy. Okay. Maybe the last thing I wish to remind viewers when it comes to Jubilee, when COVID came, and I wouldn't want us to use COVID as an excuse. Yeah. COVID is still with us. We just need to step up. What I'm happy at first, the national government failed to handle the COVID menace properly because we had a lot of money, but what we remember about for COVID in 2020, it was the KEMSA scandal. Yeah. But coming to 2021, I want to appreciate and I want to give a fair view here. If you look at 2021, the current national government is doing everything in its power to push people to get vaccinated, and that one has to be lauded. Okay. My only sincere hope is that I wish we had started way earlier. Okay. If the national and the county governments can pick up, and I wish the president tomorrow to address it very seriously. With the new variants coming in, let the common clarion call should be vaccination to be ramped up to 60–70%. If we don't vaccinate, if you're not healthy, then we cannot prepare for an election. Okay. So that one I want to appreciate that the current national government is trying as much as possible to push up on the issue of vaccination. Okay. Because the more you vaccinate, the more healthier we get, and more probably we will participate in an election.
Got it. Prof, should you endorse anyone as we wind up?
I think the president has said as much, that he will endorse somebody. He said some times back, speaking in Gikoyo, I'd like to know a bit of it, that I will shock you with my choice of successor. He said it in Gikoyo. I know a bit of it, but I don't want to mess myself on screen. Every president, every king, every sovereign who loves their country will always take a keen interest in who succeeds them. The style of doing and manner may differ, but they always do so. To quote Kibaki as a person who didn't interfere is not to understand Kenyan politics. Uhuru had already been anointed. Look no further than how Uhuru was made deputy prime minister instead of Martha Karua, the only man standing at KICC. Everybody, when they said there was going to be a prime minister, we all knew it would be Raila Odinga. When they said each side would produce a deputy, everybody knew it was going to be Martha Karua. First of all, she's a lady. Secondly, she has proved beyond doubt. She was the star in Jubilee. Why was Uhuru given? So, indeed, every outgoing leader who has an interest in his country will always take a keen interest, sometimes even for the party's sake. Okay. But many times, we may not know this, Trevor. We may not know this. If you sleep in State House one day, second day, you begin to understand things which many people don't understand. And you begin to see the weight of being president. And even if you didn't love the country, you just went there for the sake of power, you begin to get that feel of loving your country. And therefore, because of that love and because of the responsibility, let me end by saying I had President Moi tell us, we had visited him, you people, you want me to hand power to these people. I know these people, they are useless. He told us in status, we had gone there. I'm not saying he was right, but what I'm saying is,
but you don't
as president, you may also know these people around you more than we do. No. You see? But again, there are also personal interests.
All right.
The president may want to endorse Trevor because maybe he may think if Trevor is there, his influence may continue. We are all human beings. But definitely, I will tell you, President Uhuru Kenyatta will certainly have an interest in who succeeds him because of the many things he's talking about, bringing on board, the things that were in the BBI will come to naught if the wrong person succeeds him. And for that reason, if nothing else, President Uhuru Kenyatta will certainly endorse one of these guys. How he does it is a matter of style.
We've run out of time here, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll start with you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Jubilee? 1 line, 1 being the least, 10 being the most. Elachi?
I give them a 7.
A 7. Kipto? Scale of 1 to 10?
I'll give them a 4 out of 10.
Okay. Prof?
I'll give them 5 so that I'm neutral.
Nusu. All right. Yes. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening. Honorable Beatrice Elachi, CAS, Public Service and Gender Affairs, Professor Aman Manyora, commentator, political commentator, and Joshua Kipto, Speaker, Nandi County Assembly. Asante sana for making time. Most important, thank you all for the feedback. There's quite a number of them. We're never able to read all of them, but we'll try to squeeze in a few more. Sheriff Peter says, tell Professor Manyora, hope isn't a strategy. As civilians, we need action, not hope. Kanyi Gioko says, President Uhuru has done so much. You cannot make so many pancakes without breaking so many eggs. There are so many good things we did not have a decade ago. We have our problems, but let's not crucify just one person, all right? And Kulo Conrad says, just like a coin has 2 sides, Jubilee administration will go down in history as a failed regime. It is under their administration that the country has accumulated billions of shillings in loan forms, which have ended up in people's pockets, all right? That's where we leave it for now. Thank you so much for watching Citizen TV. My name is Trevor Mbija. It's always a pleasure having you with us. Have a great night ahead and keep it Citizen TV, all right? Bye for now.